High Commission and tried to bring down the national flag. Then in Australia, they protested outside Parliament. Next was the United States. The Indian consulate was vandalized in San Francisco. They even tried to barge into the consulate. And now pictures have emerged from Canada's Surrey. The event, which was being conducted to welcome the newly appointed Indian High Commissioner to Canada, was cancelled because of the violent protests outside the venue. They even heckled the Indian diaspora at the event, including certain radio journalists who went there to cover the event. Their passage was blocked, they were abused, heckled, and the cops on ground actually sent the journalists back away, the radio journalists. They sent them back, saying, "We cannot guarantee your safety, so please go away." Bizarre, absolutely bizarre. Now let's focus on each nation one by one and what's happened in that turf. United Kingdom. After pro-Khalistani elements attacked the Indian embassy in London, the Indian High Commissioner interacted with the concerned Indian community leaders at India House. The Indian diaspora also staged a massive protest. It was a show of strength and, of course, a registration of objection for this kind of behavior. And that happened earlier in the day in London. The protesters stood in solidarity with the Indian High Commission after Khalistani elements attacked the Indian mission and demanded action against the culprits. The protesters carried their tricolour in the hand and chanted Bharat Mata Ki Jai. You see these visuals? Just listen in to the Nat sound. And that tricolour still stands. The big mega one put by the Indian High Commission to say, you try and take down one small flag, we'll make the flag so big you won't dare to touch it again. Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and silent show of strength and solidarity that we stand with you. Meanwhile, there was some success for Bharat in the United Kingdom. Avtar Singh Khanda, the man who climbed up the balcony and brought down the Indian flag, has been arrested by the London police. Sources have told CNN News 18 that Khanda was behind Amritpal Singh's meteoric rise. Avtar Singh Khanda. Now let us take you through the details about Avtar Singh Khanda. What intel sources are telling CNN News 18? He was the organizer of this entire K protest outside the India House in London, close associate of Khalistani terrorist Jagtar Singh Tara, Amritpal's handler and the brain behind his meteoric rise. Avtar Singh Khanda is also close to Babbar Khalsa International's Paramjit Singh Pamma. BKI demonstrated IDs in Birmingham and Glasgow in the United Kingdom. That's the United Kingdom. Let's move to what happened in the US. The NSA, or the NSC coordinator for the strategic communications at White House, John Kirby, has strongly condemned the attack on the Indian consulate in San Francisco and termed it as absolutely unacceptable. This comes after India had lodged protest and reminded the US government of basic obligation to protect diplomats and, of course, facilities. The Ministry of External Affairs had asked the US government to take appropriate steps to prevent such attacks. On Sunday, pro-Khalistani elements had attacked the Indian consulate in San Francisco and they broke open the makeshift security barriers raised by the city police and installed two so-called Khalistani flags inside the consulate premises. Now the US State Department also issued a statement indicating that those behind the act would be held accountable. Let's listen in to what John Kirby had to say.
We certainly condemn that vandalism. It's just absolutely unacceptable. The State Department's Diplomatic Security Service is working with local authorities. I can't speak for the San Francisco police, but I can say that the Diplomatic Security Service is working with local authorities to properly investigate. And obviously, the State Department is going to be working from an infrastructure perspective to repair the damage, but it's unacceptable.
Meanwhile, over in Canada, a reception organized by the Friends of India and Canada Foundation in Surrey was cancelled after the Khalistani mob started protesting at the venue. The Indian High Commissioner India's High Commissioner in Canada was forced to cancel his attendance as nearly 200 protesters, some wielding swords, gathered in front of the venue, blocking entry into the venue for anyone who wanted to attend the event. Reports suggest that the Surrey police was unable to control the mob which started gathering a couple of hours ahead of the event. And this also happened on Sunday evening, and cops advised the High Commissioner against attending the function. An Indian origin journalist named Sameer Kaushal was heckled by these Khalistani protesters. He was in Surrey to cover the Indian High Commissioner's visit when a pro-Khalistani group threatened and roughed him up, and the cops asked him to actually walk away. They said, "We will escort you back, you sit in our car and we'll take you back to your vehicle because we cannot guarantee you your safety." Joining us now is Terry Milewski. He's the author of Blood for Blood, 50 Years of the Global Khalistan Project. He's also a Canadian journalist. Terry, namaste. Thank you very, very much for speaking with us here at CNN News 18. You followed this entire Khalistan project. It's part of your book. How do you see the developments in the last 24 to 48 hours? What's happened in Canada, the United Kingdom, USA and Australia?
Well, precipitated, I guess, by the dramatic chase for Amritpal Singh, which makes news. What has happened, I think, is that it's set fire to the tinder that was lying around in Australia, in Canada, in Germany, in the UK, and certainly in Punjab, thanks to what you might call the power of myth, the power of misinformation. The less polite term is lies. And what I'm talking about is that for many years now, the establishment at certain radical Gurdwaras in the West, among the Sikh diaspora, have been promoting a series of lies about a sort of fantasy world. I don't just mean Khalistan, their imagined independent state, which seems today in practice as remote as ever, but also they've been propagating myths about how the Sikhs are the victims of and I'm quoting now, the ongoing genocide by the Hindus, which has been going on, so they say, since the time of Indira Gandhi right through to the time of Narendra Modi. And these myths and this victim narrative has caught fire in many of the Gurdwaras, and it's attractive to young men who apparently don't have a very good education. It's an indictment of education in many of these places. I mean, people should be able to think more critically about what's happened, and they should be educated about the facts. There were certainly many misdeeds. Let's not go into all the history now, but many misdeeds on both sides. Some 20,000 people and more died during the Sikh armed insurgency for Khalistan in the 80s and the early 90s. Most of those were Sikhs, by the way, something that's often forgotten. And the Khalistanis slaughtered in a series of hideous massacres, both Sikhs and Hindus, with equal abandon. So I think what's happened now, because of the case of Amritpal Singh, and because it coincides with some angry scenes in Australia, which is the latest venue for the referendum, which is being run by so-called Sikhs for Justice, led by Gurpatwant Singh Pannoon, the author of the quotes that I just mentioned. He's the author of the quotes that, for example, that Operation Blue Star was a case where 10,000 innocent civilians were herded into the Golden Temple by the Indian Army to be massacred. None of that didn't happen. These figures are wildly exaggerated, and Pannoon is also the author of the naming of the referendum centers dotted around the world after a parade of gun-toting mass murderers, to include, for example, the Canada campaign headquarters for the Khalistan referendum campaign is named for, and I quote, Shaheed Bhai Talvinder Singh Parmar. It's his voting center, and he is the poster boy for this peaceful, democratic campaign. They say, oh, we're all about ballots, not bullets. That's another quote from Pannoon. Really? Well, he's just contradicted himself and continues to do so. The voting centre in Australia most recently was named for, I think, Khalistan Singh and Khalistan Singh and Satwan Singh, the assassins of Indira Gandhi in October of 1984. So these myths go on, and when an incident like this has happened in Punjab, it catches fire, and compliant politicians in the West, I'm including several Canadian members of Parliament from all parties, are crying in their beer now about the outrage committed, the suspension of human rights by the fascist Indian government. And they don't seem to have a clue about the background of the case. They seem to have completely forgotten all the killings by the Khalistanis and remember only the killings by the Hindus. So it's got a slightly otherworldly air to it, but I think that's what's behind it: misinformation and myth.
But Terry, do you believe somebody is fueling this propaganda? How does one address it? More importantly, because if you go after the propagandists, it becomes a big issue. If you do nothing about it, they proliferate.
The answer to the why question is it's because it's easy and cheap for Western politicians to court any number of ethnic communities. Canada is a nation of immigrants. We've got lots of different groups. They allow them to proliferate in return to votes, and they look the other way at the Vaisakhi parade every year when the floats go by in the parade carrying the pictures of gun-toting martyrs and assassins, to include the assassins of Indira Gandhi, the assassins of General Vaidya, the Air India bombers, Dilawar Singh, who, as you know, blew up Manhunt Singh, the Chief Minister of Punjab in 1995, and on and on and on. There's a long list, as most Indians know, there's a long list of these so-called martyrs. So if you don't understand the history and you're getting a lot of votes from the people in the parade, maybe it makes sense, apparently it does, for many politicians at all levels of government and all parties in Canada certainly, and I think this happens to a degree elsewhere, it makes sense to smile and wave. Thanks for the votes. That's the other question you asked is, what do you do about it? Well, for one thing, you do a better job of education, you do a better job of propaganda. All the propaganda is on one side. Nobody's doing the opposite propaganda. The Indian government has been very quick and energetic over many years now at berating Western governments for letting this happen. Why don't you crack down? You should lock them up. You should crack down. And this must sound pretty tough and good stuff for the voters back home in India, but it's not practical. The Western governments are not going to abolish freedom of speech. I mean, if you think that, then you're a lot less smart than I think these Indian politicians really are. They know perfectly well that's not going to happen, and they know they look good by beating their chests and saying Canada should crack down and send a note of protest and so forth. Well, they need to do a better job of countering the propaganda. Than just saying these slogans every time something happens. Oh, well, arrest them, lock them up. It's not against the law unless they commit any kind of violence. And they need to get that. And instead, to deal with the propaganda in kind by saying, okay, let's just analyze, Twitter's fine for this if you want to fight on Twitter. Let's have a look. Okay, you want to name your campaign headquarters for Talvinder Parmar. Let's look at what this raging psychopath actually did. He slaughtered 331 completely innocent civilians who had nothing whatsoever to do with his dream of Khalistan. And if you're going to propagate the myth that, oh, well, he was never convicted, he was innocent. Yeah, well, number one, it's kind of hard to prosecute and convict a corpse. He was killed 30 years ago by the Indian police. And number two, we had a decade of transparent, open, thorough legal proceedings in Canada to include a 4-year criminal trial and another 4 years in a judicial inquiry under an esteemed former judge of the Supreme Court of Canada, both of which named Parmar as beyond question the instigator and the leader and the mastermind, if that's the word, of the Kanishka bombing, the twin bombings actually in 1985. As you know, there was supposed to be another plane, another Air India flight that was blown up on the other side of the world, and that one went off early on the ground and killed a couple of Japanese baggage handlers. Yeah, killing Japanese baggage handlers. That's really going to win you Khalistan, an independent state of Khalistan. So, in my view, I'm sorry for the long answer, but in my view, India has done a poor job of fighting propaganda with its own propaganda, and it's made do with these slogans about, why does Canada allow this to happen? Well, up until the point they commit an illegal act, an act of violence, it's going to go on.
It's going to go on.
Because it's not against the law.
So if they vandalize, they get pulled up for vandalism. Thanks for putting matters in perspective. But don't you agree, or would you agree if I'd say that the Sikh community at large should also come and distance itself from these incidents, especially the custodians of Sikhi, the religion, the religious heads?
You're quite right to point out the relative silence of the majority of the Sikh community, which wants nothing to do with the separatists. They just let it happen. They don't want to get into a fight. Well, maybe they should.
Fair point made. Terry, thank you very, very much. We'll keep this conversation or pause this conversation for now. I'm going to go across to our other guests, but I thank you for making the time here. Look forward to speaking with you very, very soon. Thank you. Let's go straight across to Kuldeep Singh Shekhawat, Director, MATV, and Vasik, writer and commentator. Namaste, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. Vasik, we just heard Terry Milevsky, who said that this is nothing but myth and misinformation. And on foreign land, you are not going to expect any crackdown till the time things go out of hand. There is vandalism and there is violence. He believes that India is not doing the right job of countering or enough of countering this negative propaganda of misinformation. Your thoughts?
Yes, so I do think that in terms of the UK security services, when it comes to pro-Khalistani extremism, we've seen that there's been a blind spot. But that has been picked up. It's been picked up most recently in the William Shawcross review on Prevent. Prevent is a counter-extremism strategy that's directed by the government to prevent people from going into radicalization. And what we've seen over recent years is that a number of those, a minority within the Sikh community, believe in the concept of a separate state for Sikhs, which is Khalistan in the region of Punjab. And this annexation of this region is allowing and giving a lot of these people a sense of identity where they don't actually need one. We've seen that Bharat right now is thriving as a nation, and a or a separate state for the Sikhs, I don't see how that would really help. And some of that propaganda that's being used to recruit a lot of these vulnerable and impressionable individuals needs to be countered, not just at a state level, but also within the Sikh community itself. So one of the caveats that we should always point out is that this is not the majority of Sikhs, this is a minority, yes. Because even whenever you do see these attacks, you only see a minority carrying out extremism. You don't see the majority, but you do need to see the majority coming out against them and to show a strong, united front that this is unacceptable behavior and it must be dealt with.
Interestingly, even when they talk about this separate Punjab or Khalistan narrative, they forget about the Punjab that is with Pakistan. They actually draw a map over other states in India like Haryana and Himachal. So this is purely secessionist narrative, and it's fueled by under this entire K2 directive of Kashmir and Khalistan that's pushed by the ISI. Now this is all something which all of us are nodding our heads, we know. But how is it that this propaganda is not there on ground for these people? Even if there are 25 people standing outside the India House in London, Kuldeep Singh ji, it's unfortunate. The fact is that there should have been none. The other thing is, in India, we saw outside the British consulate protests in Delhi. But where are the larger voices of the community coming out and saying that none of these boys represent Sikhi? They do not, what they are pushing is a false narrative. This Pannoon and this entire gang and this entire lot which is peddling this K narrative, they have not been totally done away with. Their narrative has not been snubbed.
Well, if you want to understand, as far as what I understand this situation as, the number of people who are involved in this are not too big.
Okay.
The numbers are very small. Maybe around, say, 60 to 100 people altogether in, if it is UK scenario we are talking about. Out of those 60 or odd people, what has happened is, as you have very rightly pointed out, the K2 scenario. Well, there are certain elements which came to UK and took asylum. They took asylum on the basis of, as they claim, that they will be persecuted in India. Once they are here, they know they cannot go back to India.
Yeah.
And since they cannot go back to India, what they will do? They will start renting against India. That renting is being looked after by so-called ISI or our other powerful friends across on the northern side. Put together, these people are just a nuisance. If you ask people in India, which is, you very well know, nobody is demanding Khalistan.
Correct.
As you rightly said, there is another part of Punjab which is in Pakistan. Nobody is talking about that. On top of that, if you really need to speak about separatism, and if you are really looking for a nation of your own, there are ways, means and methods which are legal. They should have adopted them, and they should have gone on record to tell the political hierarchy that, okay, hang on a minute, let's do this. And if the people don't agree or agree, we'll find out. It is something similar to what happened in Scotland recently. Scotland was looking for a referendum. They had a referendum, but the Scottish people lost it. The majority of the Scottish said no. That is the right way of dealing with the things. These 60 odd or 50 odd people living in Birmingham, living in some other parts of UK, majority of them, other than one guy, Paramjit Singh Pamma. Pamma lives in London now. He used to live in Birmingham. And mind you, this guy is a guy who fuels fire all the time. There's another guy, I can name these people because we deal with these people on a daily basis. We know them, who these people are. But honestly speaking, when you come to a scenario whereby British hierarchy and British system and British politicians should have looked at it in a very different way. What we have been told, that the system is telling us that, hang on a minute, they have human rights issue. Well, if they have a human rights issue, they should go to the proper channel. By disrespecting the Indian national flag, going to the Indian High Commission, desecrating the Indian flag, trying to break into the High Commission. There was a guy.
All of that is all right, but the fact is that how is it that even British politicians think it's a human rights issue? How are they so misinformed? That means there is a loss. India has lost the narrative amongst the British polity, Vasik. That's the underlying problem here. If they are getting political patronage and sympathy by spreading misinformation and myth, what is it that has been done by the Sikh community in London, in the United Kingdom, the Indian diaspora, the Indian embassy, and of course India, the External Affairs Ministry, to quell this narrative? That's not happening. Would you agree that's a concern and that needs to be addressed right away?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It does need to be dealt with, and I expect it will be dealt with. It's going to take some time for it to be dealt with. And look, the fact is that Bharat is one of our closest allies, both in terms of trade and in terms of security. and the UK government are going to have to step up and to protect Bharat's interests here, because it seems quite embarrassing now that within the space of 5 years, the Commission has been attacked. The first attack was in 2019, and now we've had the next attack here this year in 2023. So now that's 2 attacks that have taken place. And the local authority, in terms of the police, the Met Police, have failed to protect that. And, serious questions need to be asked why that's happening. Only recently, only today, in fact, a report has just come out damning the Met Police in terms of it being institutionally racist. So we can see that there are serious problems that we're having domestically here within our security services.
Right.
And we need to get a handle on that if we are to obviously deal with such a threat like these. Now, in terms of the Khalistanis, now, just because it's a small number, it doesn't mean that a small number of individuals cannot pose a threat. It only takes one person to blow up a bomb. It only takes one person to stab someone and murder them. And these would, in my view, be considered terrorist attacks.
And it only takes a handful to broad brush an entire community, and that's harmful to the United Kingdom. It's harmful to the entire diaspora present there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the thing, we know the majority of the diaspora do not agree with this sort of extremism or sentiments towards terrorist activities. There's hardly any support for a Khalistani state, and even if there was, there are, as your guest said, means to achieving that, if that's ever at all possible. So the fact is that this needs to be dealt with, and I do have confidence that we are going to see this more prominently dealt with in the coming weeks.
No, a massive push of facts has to be made, and all these myths and misinformation have to be dispelled at the earliest. Kuldeep Shekhawat and Wasik, thank you very much. Quickly bringing the entire aspect closer, ladies and gentlemen. As Terry said, it all started with Saturday, a crackdown on Amritpal Singh, who continues to remain absconding or on the run. The manhunt has entered day 4. Well, this Tuesday, Punjab police recovered a car in which Amritpal was travelling. CNN News 18 has access to CCTV footage where Amritpal can be seen driving the car. So he's on the driver's seat. The footage is from Jalandhar Toll Plaza. The date on the CCTV footage suggests that he passed the toll on Saturday, that is the 18th of March. Meanwhile, Amritpal's uncle was flown to Assam today after he surrendered to the Punjab police. The Punjab police team escorted Harjeet Singh to Guwahati before he was taken to the Dibrugarh Central Jail or by road. Harjeet Singh surrendered as authorities continued the manhunt across the state to nab Waris Punjab Day Chief Amritpal Singh. Now, the Punjab police this Tuesday has informed the Punjab and Haryana High Court that the NSA, or the National Security Act, has been imposed on Amritpal Singh. The police informed court that Amritpal was professing radical ideologies demanding secession of Punjab from India. And according to police, Amritpal brandished 0.315 or a .315 bore rifle to create fear among people. CNN News 18 has exclusively accessed the visuals of Amritpal's escape. On your screens are the visuals, and in these visuals you can see Amritpal and his aides ditching that Brezza vehicle and then escaping on a bike. According to police, Amritpal also changed his clothes at a Gurudwara before escaping on a bike. So that's where they ditched the getaway vehicle, and there are people waiting with them to give them bikes, and they are handling them, and they are handing them bikes, and they're getting on the bikes and then making a getaway. They're getting out of there. So that's what's happening. That's Amritpal. He's covered himself and then he's sitting on the bike, and then they're making their way away from there. In fact, Punjab police conducted a press conference and gave update on the investigation. What they had to say is that the situation as far as law and order currently remains stable. Car in which Amritpal was travelling has been recovered. Amritpal changed clothes in the Gurudwara, escaped on a bike. Some swords, rifles, walkie-talkies have also been recovered. Bulletproof jackets have been recovered with the AKF insignia on them. Amritpal booked under the NSA Act. Non-bailable warrant has been issued. And the cops have said that they're getting full cooperation from the other states also, as this investigation spills over into multiple states. Listen in to Sukhchand Singh.
ਜੋ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਲੀਗਲ ਅਰੈਸਟ 'ਚ ਨਾ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ। ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਅਕਿਊਜ਼ਡ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਫੜਿਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਤੁਰੰਤ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਰੈਜ਼ਾ ਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੌੜਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਮੌਕੇ ਤੋਂ ਉਹ ਬਰੈਜ਼ਾ ਕਾਰ ਰਿਕਵਰ ਹੋਈ ਆ। ਜਿਹੜੇ 4 ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਭੱਜਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਦਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਡੀ ਮਿਲੀ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਵੀ 315 ਬੋਰ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਰਾਈਫਲ ਮਿਲੀ ਆ, ਕੁਝ ਤਲਵਾਰਾਂ ਮਿਲੀਆਂ ਵਾ, ਵਾਕੀ ਟਾਕੀ ਸੈੱਟ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਵਾ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਰਮਡ ਐਕਟ ਦਾ ਕੇਸ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਸਟਡੀ ਚੋਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤ ਤੋਂ ਭਜਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਐਡ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ FIR ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਹਿਮ ਗੱਲ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਈ ਆ ਕਿ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੌੜਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਨੰਗਲ ਅੰਬੀਆਂ ਪਿੰਡ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਿਆ। ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਕੱਪੜੇ ਚੇਂਜ ਕੀਤੇ, ਉਹਨੇ ਸ਼ਰਟ ਪਾਈ, ਪੈਂਟ ਪਾਈ, ਫਿਰ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੌੜਿਆ, ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤਲਵਾਰ ਸੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਛੱਡ ਦਿੱਤੀ।
Now, the latest information around Amritpal is that he has several links with Khalistanis across the globe. Intel sources have told CNN News 18 that London protest vandal Khanda, Avtar Singh Khanda, was Amritpal's handler. Amritpal Singh is also linked with Lakhbir Road. Amritpal was in touch with Lakhbir's brother Jaswant. Lakhbir is the head of the International Sikh Youth Federation. Lakhbir Road is wanted in the arms smuggling cases. Road is accused of conspiring to attack government leaders in Delhi. Joining us now is the former DGP of Punjab, Shashikant ji, and also activist Ramneek Singh Mann. Namaste and Jai Hind, gentlemen. Shashikant ji, are the cops doing a good job? Or how could they nab everybody else without firing a single bullet, but Amritpal is on the run? And even in the CCTV footage, he doesn't seem to be in a hurry. He just seems to be casually walking, "Why meri gaadi puncture ho gayi, koi aa gaya, main baith gaya, main ja raha hu." That's what the body language looks like.
I don't know whether Punjab police did a good job. I think that the entire thing was botched up right from the very beginning. When this guy landed up in Punjab out of nowhere, practically out of nowhere, and grabbed that organization called Waris Punjab Day. And they started moving around, name of Amrit Sanchar, Amrit Prachar, and de-addiction camps, etc. And Punjab police says that this de-addiction camp didn't have a doctor, which is the basic prerequisite. And I'm surprised that overnight, how could he muster such a massive support? Like just now, you're talking about Khanda and Rode. And of course, these guys have their cells in Punjab. Nobody can deny that. They are sleeper cells, and some of them are activists also. They all come out, and all of a sudden they started giving support to him. Like what happened at that police station in Ajnala, that there was a massive crowd. And the worst thing to my mind is that they tried to use our holy cook, holy Granth, Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and they took it in Palki Sahib, and it, like the DGP was talking and I was listening to his press conference. They took shelter behind that and started indulging in vandalism. These things are not done in any religion, in particular in Sikhism, where we really revere our Guru Granth Sahib, and we are, what do we say in our language, mastak all the time there. So I think that now this thing happened, and it appears, I'm sure it will ultimately come out that maybe there was some person who was giving guidance, telling this person that ahead you have this police party, and better you change the route. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Breza comes in, Endeavour comes in, mobiles come in. What does it show? And like there's press conference saying that he had walkie-talkie said, that means his network was strong and probably was anticipating this action. Thank you.
There are many people who are saying that the sale of walkie-talkies and wireless systems, on the free market and so openly, should also be perhaps limited, saying who's buying them and what are they being used for. But on the other hand, these people seem to have huge amount of funding and backing. And Ramneek Mann, the latest development is that there is a political party in Punjab which is trying to come back and give them legal cover fire. They believe what's happening is wrong. Innocent people are being picked up.
Well, you see, it will stir a political controversy if I say that the political party in question has looted Punjab more than Abdali could loot Punjab. So what they're trying to infer is that some people who are brainwashed should be let go so that they can further preach the brainwashing, and this can become let's say a chain reaction. So there has to be some example set, and the law should take its own course. If they have an issue with the police action, they should approach the court of law, and like they have been doing in the past. let them again go ahead and give them a legal assistance that they have, always insisted upon. That is one. Number two, well, the High Court's observation on the police working, you asked the question to the gentleman before who spoke before me. The High Court's observation is that you have a 80,000 strong police force and 8 district police were involved in this operation. And like I said before, कि तुसी दूल्हा था फड़ लिया, बराती तुसी फड़ ले, दूल्हा थोड़े हाथ नहीं आया. So the groom managed to run and तुसी सारी बारात इकट्ठी कर ली होती. It doesn't make any sense. So the operation essentially failed. It failed. Why? Is because the intent probably was not to nab him. That is questionable, and that's something on the politics. That's something on the ruling dispensation. That's something on the Chief Minister, or let's say the Home Minister of Punjab, which is Bhagwant Singh Mann. He has to answer why his police could not nab the people. So he should take the moral responsibility. Let somebody else manage Punjab. Home Ministry should be given to somebody else. If he wishes to do it, then he should do a better job. Number one, they brandish rifles and they brandish bulletproof jackets with this AKF, Anandpur Sahib Khalsa Force. So they had created an army within the system. Right. And they had always, Amritpal, the first day he spoke about keeping weapons and there could be no peace without weapons. That was when the alarm bells should have started ringing. This was actually played on your channel, yes, Anand. Yes. So after after the Ajnala incident, he should have been picked up immediately. The Punjab police's reputation took a massive hit after the Ajnala incident. And of course, when it comes to the Panthik people, the Panthik parties or the people associated with keeping the faith, Sirmaur Sanstha hai Sikhan di, they should have come out clear and said whether it was a Bedbi of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Sache Pasha or not. If they cannot come out clean, 20 days down the line, then the intent again is not clear.
I'm given to understand that there is
a detailed report. Anand, it's not that simple.
There is a detailed report that's been prepared over what happened in Ajnala, and it's very, very critical of the actions of Amritpal and his goons. It is with the Sirmaurs. It is there with the heads, the Akal Takht.
They have not in a binary. Anand, it is in a binary. Either it is black or white. There are no 50 shades of grey in this. Either you can take Shri Guru Granth Sahib inside a thana and तुसी जाके कह सकते हो कि जी लाओ जी महाराज दा प्रकाश करो. Oh, for good heaven's sakes, it's Guru Granth Sahib Sache Paatshah. We revere Guru Granth Sahib as a guru. It's not like you getting a kid and saying कि जी इत्थे बोआ दो इन्होंने उत्थे बोआ दो. It's not like that. It doesn't. So if it's taking such a long time for the people in high offices on the religious chairs to decide whether it was Bedbi or not, what do you expect? You will see, small timers, goons and these dacoits and these chores trying to shield behind Guru Granth Sahib just to avoid police action. But this is not acceptable.
Well, it should not be acceptable.
Simply one notice to Amritpal Singh should have come from the highest authorities of Sikhs, and he should have been excommunicated for his actions. Sikhi Bana,
a lot of people.
It's a revered.
Sikhi Bana, I totally agree.
Hear me out, Anand. Just allow me a minute. Anand, give me a minute. Sikhi Bana, the kind of attire that a Sikh wears. He dumped Sikhi Bana. He wore pant shirt. He dumped his kirpan, which is so dear to a Sikh, to a Khalsa. So essentially, he was never a Sikh. He was masquerading as a Sikh. He never had that sentiment inside. He was trying to only, use people's sentiment. He was only trying to, harp on it. कि जी देखो जी ਅਸੀਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਸੰਚਾਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ fine ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਡੀ-ਐਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ
we need more people like you
all a PR
and
exercise.
Especially from the leadership, the religious leadership, to come out and very openly say who is actually respecting the religion and walking on the tenets of the religion in the true sense, and who are these posers, these fakers, who are these people who are deliberately misinforming and misleading. This position has to be taken now, not later. 20 days too late, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's happened. Ramnik Maan and Shashikant ji, thank you very much. I'm going to move on here on the right stand. Well, from those who are actually abusing humanity and trying to hurt humanity, trying to create breaks within or tear the social fabric of a country and its people, to those who are champions of humanity, those who are quietly doing their job to help connect people, to improve their lives and service of humanity, ladies and gentlemen. This is a story that we promised to tell you. This was after KJS Dhillonji was here, the former GOC 15 Corps, who talked about Inayatullah Sahab, or Tulaji, as he's called, the man who's the first to take that bulldozer into 30 feet of snow on that treacherous Zojila Pass and opens up the passage to connect Ladakh to the valley. We'll get you to speak with him. I had spoken with him earlier in the day. He cannot hear or speak. So there was somebody who's interpreting and somebody who's been there in that dozer with him for many, many years. Bashir Bhai. So Bashir Bhai and Inayatullah ji join us. But before that, flashback, the whole story of Tulaji.
I have stayed in the place called Baltal at the base of Zojila camp, the Zojila Pass, for more than 2 months as a young captain in 1989. And this pass, you cannot see the alignment of the pass, you cannot see the pass also, because
Yes.
it's totally covered with snow.
Snow.
And let me tell you, the leading dozer driver of Beacon, Project Beacon of BRO, is a gentleman called Mr. Anayatullah. He is popularly called Tula of Zojila. He is the leading dozer driver who finds the alignment of the road, and he makes the first cut in the snow, 30 feet of snow.
Wow.
And then other people follow him. And beauty of this man is, he is specially abled, he cannot speak, he cannot hear. But he is the leading dozer driver who leads and who makes the first cut in that snow. And his name is Anayatullah, and he is very popularly called Tula of Zojila. I written a book. In that book, I made a special mention of this gentleman and have devoted one subchapter to him. These are the people who make stories. These are the people who make histories. And if BRO is able to open this pass in 68 days, Tula of Zojila has a great role to play in that. He has been doing it for years now.
So Tula Baba, Tula Ji, Inayatullah Ji, they know him by various names. Well, I caught up with him earlier in the day. So let's just take you through the conversation. Inayatullah Ji, Bashir Bhai. So with him is Bashir Bhai. So Inayatullah Ji is towards the extreme end of your screen. Okay, he is specially abled. He can't hear, he can't speak. So Bashir Bhai has been with him. Bashir Bhai, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? तो बशीर भाई एक बात बताइए, ये कब से डोजर चला रहे हैं इनायतुल्लाह जी जोजिला पे?
ये 1993 में शुरू किया है साहब, 1993
से वो डोजर चला रहे हैं, लेकिन ये काम क्यों कर रहे हैं और क्यों लेकर के जा रहे हैं?
ये जोजिला में ही डोजर चलाते हैं ना साहब।
हाँ।
बचपन से इसने डोजर ही चलाया, जब से काम पे आया तब से डोजर ही चलाया सर।
हाँ, लेकिन 30 फुट स्नो में जोजिला पास कैसे चला सकते हैं? उनको कैसे पता रास्ता कहाँ है, खाई कहाँ है?
जैसे कंप्यूटर में फीड होता है आदमी को कुछ पॉइंट, ऐसा इसको जोजिला का पूरा रूट फीड हो गया साहब। कहाँ कार्नर है, कहाँ टर्निंग है, पूरा फीड है इसके दिमाग में। इसको बताने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है सर, पूरा डाटा इनके दिमाग में फिट है साहब, जैसा कंप्यूटराइज होता है ऐसा है सर।
तो आप भी डोजर में इनके साथ बैठते हैं, क्योंकि इनको कभी डाउट होता है कि मैं कहाँ जाऊं, कैसे जाऊं? कभी इशारा करते हैं आपको?
ये तो गूंगा भी है साहब, बहरा भी है, लेकिन सब इशारे पर हम लोगों को आइडिया है, इसको इशारा दिखाने से सब कुछ काम कर देता है साहब ये।
लेकिन कभी इनको डर नहीं लगा? मैं ये जानना चाहता हूं, कभी इन्होंने कहा मैं नहीं जा रहा?
ना, कभी नहीं बोला साहब। सबसे फर्स्ट लीडिंग डोजर इसी का होता है साहब, अनायतुल्लाह का।
तो लेकिन एक बात बताइए, इनको पता कैसे रहता है? इतनी स्नो में रास्ते का कैसे पता रहता है? कैसे काम करते हैं ये?
नहीं, ये तो अपने दिमाग से हर कोई काम करता है साहब, लीडिंग में यही होता है।
हाँ, लेकिन जोजिला तो बहुत खतरनाक है। मुश्किल नहीं होती, तकलीफ नहीं होती? आप भी तो डोजर में बैठते हैं उनके साथ।
मुश्किल तो होता है साहब, जोजिला का काम आपको पता है, जो स्नो क्लियरेंस का काम है ये तो बहुत टफ होता है। इसमें अवरनाश का भी डर रहता है और पत्थर का भी डर रहता है। ये तो मतलब रिस्क में जान डाल के काम करना पड़ता है सर। अगर रिस्क नहीं लेगा तो जोजिला नहीं खुलेगा सर।
पर आप क्यों रिस्क लेने के लिए तैयार हो जाते हैं? आपको खुद नहीं लगता मैं क्यों जाऊं? खुदा जी को नहीं लगता मैं क्यों जाऊं?
डर क्या करेगा साहब, रोड तो खोलना ही है, क्या करेगा?
क्या बात।
जब मेहनत करेगा आदमी तभी तो फल मिलता है सर।
बिल्कुल सही कहा और इसके लिए बहुत बड़ा सैल्यूट आपको। लेकिन कभी ऐसा हुआ, तकलीफ हुई, डोजर बंद हो गया या बर्फ गिर गई या चोट लग गई, कुछ हुआ है, ऐसा इंसिडेंट हुआ है?
पहले हुआ है, एक बार इसका हुआ था साहब, इसका आर्म भी टूट गया था, बाजू
टूट गया? बाजू टूट गया? कब टूट गया?
ऊपर वाले ने बचाया साहब।
बस सच में ऊपर वाले की मेहर है। लेकिन एक बात बताइए, कब टूटा बाजू, कब टूटा था? ये घटना कब घटी थी?
$92 बता रहा है, 92 में करूँ अगला ढा भाई, अगला ढा। सुबह 2004 में हुआ था साहब एक्सीडेंट इसका।
2004 में हुआ था, आपको याद नहीं?
2004 में हुआ था,
आपको याद नहीं? लेकिन
सर इसका बाजू टूट गया था बाद में।
आपको याद नहीं लेकिन तुला जी को याद है। बढ़िया। लेकिन एक बात बताइए, ये कब तक कैसे ही डोजर चलाते रहना चाहते हैं? कभी बोलते हैं अब बहुत हो गया, अब मैं नहीं करूंगा, कोई और करेगा?
कभी नहीं हुआ साहब, कभी नहीं बोला इसने साहब। इसको जब भी बोलता है लीडिंग डोजर में यही होता है साहब, कभी इसने इनकार नहीं किया है साहब।
इसीलिए सारे फौजी भी आपको थैंक यू करते हैं, वहां के लोकल्स भी बहुत आपको पसंद करते हैं, तुला जी को और आपको।
पूरा इंडिया जानता है साहब इसको। पूरे इंडिया में तो फेमस है इनायतुल्लाह खान।
बिल्कुल, हमारे लिए तो अब आप हीरो हो गए हैं इनायतुल्लाह जी। और बशीर भाई, थैंक यू वेरी मच कि आप उनके साथ रहे हैं और आप उनके साथ मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं। इनायतुल्लाह जी को प्लीज़ कन्वे कीजिए कि हम सब की तरफ से उनको सलाम। भारत को जोड़ के रखने के लिए, लोगों को जोड़ के रखने के लिए, इन द सर्विस ऑफ ह्यूमैनिटी। थैंक यू वेरी वेरी मच। सी, देयर आर सच पीपल हु मेक इंडिया मैजिकल, डोंट दे? Quietly in their own way, they're doing phenomenal service for the people of the country. And on that nice and positive note, we're going to take a very, very short break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, she is in Russia and Kishida is in Ukraine. There is a lot that's happening there. Stay with us.
Hence, the BSF has been alerted on the border. So yes, Amritpal Singh has escaped from Punjab is what the police is suspecting at this point in time. But yes, the Punjab police senior officers of the Punjab police are still very, very confident that they are going to get their hands on Amritpal Singh. But yes, at this point in time, it seems like a very, very uphill task because his location has still not been traced by the Punjab police. In fact, the help of central agencies are also being taken. The IB, Intelligence Bureau, is also in the loop. IB is also trying to trace down his location. But yes, Amritpal Singh's last location is still not known. The police is still trying to figure out a map or through which route he might have fled. Till now, the latest update that we have just brought to our viewers is that the Breeza vehicle in which Amritpal Singh was travelling, that has been seized by Punjab police. His clothes have been, the clothes that he was wearing on that day, that has been recovered. The knife that he was, the weapons that he was carrying, those weapons have been recovered. So yes, a big development for the Punjab police at this point in time. And once as the interrogation is going on, we are expecting some more developments to come out.
Okay,
but yes,
Anshul, a very quick clarification for you because we do need to move on. But I do want to ask you quickly: are sources confirming that he is still within the state, though, or is there no confirmation on that?
So there is absolutely no confirmation if at all he is within the state. The Punjab police wanted to believe that he is inside the state, but yes, since he has fled on a bike, it is very, very likely that he might have been able to cross the borders of Punjab.
Anshul, thank you for that clarification. Stay with us, please. Now, as you might already know, the 5 associates that have been taken into custody, including Amritpal's uncle, who you'll remember surrendered to police forces on Sunday night, all 5 of them are currently lodged in Assam's Dibrugarh. Take a look.
अमृतपाल सिंह के 4 साथियों के बाद आज फिर 2 जनों को यहां पर ऊपरी असम के डिब्रूगढ़ के जो सेंट्रल जेल है उसमें लाया गया है। पंजाब पुलिस के आला अधिकारियों के साथ इन 2 जनों को आज लाया गया है और उसके बाद आज फिर से यहां पर और कई जनों को लाने की बात चल रही है। हालांकि यहां पर अभी तक पुलिस ने कोई पुष्टि नहीं की गई है किनको लाया गया है। ऐसे बताया जा रहा है कि ये अंकल भी हो सकता है अमृतपाल के, और एक जो ड्राइवर थे वो भी हो सकते हैं, लेकिन अभी तक कोई ऑफिशियल डाटा हम लोगों को नहीं मिली है, ऑफिशियल खुलासा भी अभी तक नहीं हुई है। और आज शायद और कई जनों को यहाँ पर लाया जा सकता है। जिनको आज 2 जनों को लाया गया, उन लोगों को गुवाहाटी से बाय रोड लाया गया था, और जो लाने वाले हैं उन लोगों को एयरक्राफ्ट थ्रू लाया जाएगा, लेकिन कब तक ये लोग पहुंचेंगे ये अभी तक पुष्टि नहीं की गई है।
देखो, मैं कह रहा हूं, दुनिया के अंदर जो इस प्रकार के आतंकवादी लोग हैं जो चाहते हैं कि भारत को बदनाम किया जाए, भारत के, और ऐसे लोग जो आतंकवादी को सह देने वाले लोग हैं, आज इनको समझना चाहिए। लेकिन इस प्रकार से चाहे पाकिस्तान हो, खालिस्तान हो, ये खालिस्तान पाकिस्तान नहीं, अब तो रहेगा हिंदुस्तान। हिंदुस्तान सब पर सावा शेर रहेगा, सावा शेर, शेर नहीं सावा शेर।
सरदार भगवंत सिंह मान जी ने इस स्थिति दे नाल नजिठिया, मैं उन्होंने ਵਧਾਈ देना। जिस ढंग नाल मान साहब ने स्थिति नूं सांभिया, ਉਹ ਵਧਾਈ ਦੇ ਹੱਕਦਾਰ ਨੇ, ਲੋਕ ਖੁਸ਼ ਨੇ। ਕਿਸੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਗਲੀ ਦਾ, ਪਿੰਡ ਦਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ, ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਅਥਰੂ ਗੈਸ, ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਲਾਠੀ ਚਾਰਜ, ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਗੋਲੀ, ਕਿਤੇ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਜਿਸ ਢੰਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੰਭਿਆ, ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕੀਤਾ। ਔਰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਾਨ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਅਗਵਾਈ ਹੇਠ ਵਿਕਾਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਲੀਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ।
In Punjab, where the hunt for Waris Punjab Day Chief Amritpal
Back on the right stand with the focus turned out towards the Russia-Ukraine conflict that's entering or completing 13 months, ladies and gentlemen. And as this conflict continues, China President Xi Jinping is in Russia and he's met with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. And according to reports, Xi Jinping has proposed a peace deal to Russia and both leaders held discussions on the proposal. However, experts suggest this meeting comes ahead of Vladimir Putin's fresh offensive in Ukraine to secure his military holdings as NATO continues to arm Ukrainian forces. Now, on the other hand, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is in Ukraine to show solidarity with Volodymyr Zelensky. This is Kishida's surprise visit to the war-torn nation. News just coming in. And after proposing the peace deal to Russia, China President Xi Jinping has now invited Vladimir Putin over to China. Joining us is Dr. Tara Karta, former Director, National Security Council Secretariat. Dr. Tara Karta, sitting in India, what's the India view of whatever is happening right now? Should we take Xi Jinping's words literally, or is there many to read between the lines?
Well, Xi Jinping's message on Ukraine talks of sovereignty, right? And we are not exactly the best, what shall I say, advertisement for that. So no. There is a lot, you have to do a lot of reading between the lines. But the fact remains that, this is China on a huge diplomatic push in talking of bringing in a peace deal. There's all the camaraderie with President Putin. And there's the kind of treatment that he's got in Moscow. I mean, we've got such interesting details that he has a 7-room suite and a personal chef and all the rest of it. And finally, there's his article in Pravda and Putin's article in the other side. The first thing we saw is that he's invited Putin back to Beijing. So it's all this pose of neutrality, I think, is now done with. It's not really neutral, but they are now solidly with Russia. However, in also trying to get a peace deal. I mean, if you remember, one of the things which China wanted was that the grain initiative could continue. And just 3 days before she landed, that was agreed to by Moscow. So that's very important for everybody. So I'd say there's a bit of there's Chinese interests primarily. And then, of course, it's the backing of Russia, which we have to see, which, of course, affects us also. It's going to be a very, very difficult a very strong balancing act which we're going to have to do.
But now, Vladimir, this Russia-China bonhomie, is this trying to bring back the Cold War nexuses or the Cold War formations, especially at a time when Xi Jinping talks of a multipolar world, indicating that no, we are not trying to create two poles or the axis, as it was in the Cold War. Also, Putin has gone to Mariupol and come back.
China, when China talks of multipolarity, what it's talking of is a pole for itself. That is his version of multipolarity. But then is it a sort of a Cold War return? Not really. I wish it were that simple. I don't think it is. Because you have this large power now, absolutely tied with Russia, who, remember, whatever its economic status, still retains its nuclear weapons. And this is the outcome of the Ukrainian war, which for us means that Russia, which we counted on to be our kind of, back us in a lot of things, which it has in the past. Well, you can't be too sure of that now, can you? So that's why I said and Putin in Mariupol, it's a kind of he is talking of peace. He's saying he's open to negotiations. But then the International Criminal Court by, calling him out, you kind of you closed a door in his face. So I don't see any push from the West to try and end this. I don't see that at all.
Final question to you. Do you see the map of Ukraine being redrawn? Is there going to be any backing off? Because Putin is not going to give up what he's picked up. He wants to draw that line, connect the Russian mainland with Crimea and also take control of Sea of Azov and the Black Sea. There's been attacks on Crimea now by Ukraine. There's been a drone strike on a Russian train. So do you see it escalating, or do you see some de-escalation in the near future?
I'm very much afraid it's not going to de-escalate. I mean, unless President Biden can insist on Zelensky that he has to talk to, which I don't see that happening, right? Putin is not going to withdraw. That is just not going to happen. And if you see China's peace plan, which they've drawn up, there's no mention of withdrawal. They're talking of sovereignty, blah, blah, all the rest of it. The recent article, not the peace plan, the recent article, no mention of Russian withdrawal.
Nobody knows the fine prints. We'll have to wait for the details. I've run out of time, Dr. Karta. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure speaking with you. With that, we call it a wrap on this edition of The Right Stand. Stay with us. Short break and brass tacks follows.
Or is there no confirmation on that?
So there is absolutely no confirmation if at all he is within the state. The Punjab police wanted to believe that he is inside the state, but yes, since he has fled on a bike, it is very, very likely that he might have been able to cross the borders of Punjab.
Anshul, thank you for that clarification. Stay with us, please. Now, as you might already know, the 5 associates that have been taken into custody, including Amritpal's uncle, who you'll remember surrendered to police forces on Sunday night, all 5 of them are currently lodged in Assam's Dibrugarh. Take a look.
अमृतपाल सिंह के 4 साथियों के बाद आज फिर 2 जनों को यहां पर ऊपरी असम के डिब्रूगढ़ के जो सेंट्रल जेल है उसमें लाया गया है। पंजाब पुलिस के आला अधिकारियों के साथ इन 2 जनों को आज लाया गया है और उसके बाद आज फिर से यहां पर और कई जनों को लाने की बात चल रही है। हालांकि यहां पर अभी तक पुलिस ने कोई पुष्टि नहीं की गई है किनको लाया गया है। ऐसे बताया जा रहा है कि ये अंकल भी हो सकता है अमृतपाल के और एक जो ड्राइवर थे वो भी हो सकते हैं, लेकिन अभी तक कोई ऑफिशियल डाटा हम लोगों को नहीं मिली है, ऑफिशियल खुलासा भी अभी तक नहीं हुई है। और आज शायद और कई जनों को यहाँ पर लाया जा सकता है। जिनको आज 2 जनों को लाया गया उन लोगों को गुवाहाटी से बाय रोड लाया गया था और जो लाने वाले हैं उन लोगों को एयरक्राफ्ट थ्रू लाया जाएगा, लेकिन कब तक ये लोग पहुंचेंगे ये अभी तक पुष्टि नहीं की गई है।
देखो, मैं कह रहा हूं, दुनिया के अंदर जो इस प्रकार के आतंकवादी लोग हैं जो चाहते हैं कि भारत को बदनाम किया जाए, भारत के और ऐसे लोग जो आतंकवादी को सह देने वाले लोग हैं, आज इनको समझना चाहिए। लेकिन इस प्रकार से चाहे पाकिस्तान हो, खालिस्तान हो, ये खालिस्तान पाकिस्तान नहीं, अब तो रहेगा हिंदुस्तान। हिंदुस्तान सब पर सावा शेर रहेगा, सावा शेर, शेर नहीं सावा शेर।
ਸਰਦਾਰ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਾਨ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਜਿੱਠਿਆ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਈ ਦਿੰਦਾ। ਜਿਸ ਢੰਗ ਨਾਲ ਮਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਂਭਿਆ, ਉਹ ਵਧਾਈ ਦੇ ਹੱਕਦਾਰ ਨੇ। ਲੋਕ ਖੁਸ਼ ਨੇ। ਕਿਸੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਗਲੀ ਦਾ, ਪਿੰਡ ਦਾ, ਕਿਤੇ
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. It's been over a couple of weeks since the budget session's second leg began, and every single day so far has been a washout. Only one bill has been passed, with close to 3 dozen pending. More than 80 crore rupees of taxpayer money has been wasted, and it comes down to whether or not Rahul Gandhi will apologize for his comments made while he was in London. Mr. Gandhi and the Congress party say they have nothing to apologize for.